maybe they won't at night.
Do 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 do. Ba ba da ba ba. Ba da ba ba. Ba da ba. Are they coming out?
Where's Penny?
She's on the lounge.
No, must be one of the beds. Mother likes that little chair there.
Where's Penny?
That's because they can see out. They both sit in that.
Yeah. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling, summertime. Together, oh my darling, summertime. Let's see who is on. Could be nobody. Could be Tony. JP. Good evening to you, JP.
Hi,
Welcome
JP.
from the sunburned country of Australia, this side. You don't have a choice how your eggs are cooked in Western Australia. As soon as you pull them out the carton, they're cooked. Hope you had a good Christmas. Plenty of prezzies for JP. You know, gifts like books on how to drive in Thailand, how to swallow a whole durian. Those were the days. Well, we've had mobs of family, and today's quiet. Roof racks for the beast. Nice. Those roof racks contain anti-hail shields by any chance? Let me see where you're going. You're either going up the coast, which I wouldn't, down the coast. Bega, Bermagui, Narooma. Yeah, I can speak New South Welsh. Well, everyone here is sort of doing a holiday thing. We're babysitting daughter's 2 dogs because they're up in Exmouth, which is crazy. They planned this about 6 months ago. Yeah, holiday makers driving at about 20k below the speed limit, pointing with their hand out the window. Oh, look at that, a tree. Look, Mabel, what? There's another tree on my side as well. Don't get trees like that back home. So they're in Exmouth, which they're lucky it's only about 100 degrees there. Actually, they're in Denham tonight, but they're off to Exmouth tomorrow. It'll be 102. They asked me when's the best time to go to Exmouth. I said, May. I said, no, we'll do it in January, in the middle of the summer. Right. Well, they'll live and learn. Yeah. Today was the coolest day we've had for a while. It was only about 32. She's been right over 100 most days for the last week. Got some good things growing in the garden, but the 3 days over 40 sort of fried the tomatoes on the bush. Nothing you can do about it. Unless you stick an umbrella on each plant. So we had a bit of a loss there, but there's new ones growing now. How's your garden going? Haven't seen your video with a straw hat, a piece of straw coming out your mouth, breeches on, gumboots, walking around the backyard saying, here's a melon. I bought it from Coles and it looks like I grew it. It's good. Come on, where's your garden videos? They should do. We've had plenty of rain over there too. We've had so many tomatoes, mate. We've got about 10 bushes. I've made chili sauce with them, tomato relish, all sorts of stuff. It's been non-ending, which is good. Don't need a lot of tomato bushes to get a lot of tomatoes. fact, I'm finishing off my first season of tomatoes, pulled a few out today. Got a few that have got about a week left in them, plenty of tomatoes. But I'm planting new seedlings because these are a bit smaller variety and they do well through the end of summer. Come March, they'll still be producing. Got some nice chilies. I've made about, I don't know, 20 jars of chili sauce. Plenty more where that came from. See, a lot of, with your tomatoes, it is really nice to pull off a ripe red tomato off your bush. But when you get so many, you're best pulling them off as they're just tinting towards go red. Chili's been slow. How tall are your chilies? Because you've got plenty of summer left. I'll give you a little trick. Just need to know how tall your chilies are. Roughly, I mean, each one's going to be different, but on average, they're in pots full sun. Actually, chilies in the middle of summer like a bit of afternoon shade, believe it or not. But to promote growth with chilies, I know this sounds harsh. If you get a measuring stick and measure up about 15 inches, what is it, about 350 millimetres from the ground, measure 350 and cut the main stem off. This time of the year you'll end up them bushing out and you'll get even more tomatoes. It's called topping, but I knew you'd take it somewhere else if I said it was topping, so I just said, you know, measure 350 mil and cut them off. I know it sounds drastic and everyone I've shown go, oh, I don't know, but it works. I'll be doing that shortly with some of mine. Keep putting your liquid fertiliser on, mate. Tomatoes and chilies, well, most of your garden, heavy feeders this time of the year. I got some nice brandy ones yesterday, beautiful. And a lot of people overwater. If they're in pots, it's different. You need to keep the moisture up to them. But if they're in the ground, a lot of people put too much water on. Also planted habanero. So. Yeah, the habanero, they're fickle. You know, here's the rule of thumb, JP. The hotter the chili, the more fickle they become. You definitely have to support them. Get those canes from Bunnings, they're about 4 foot high. So if you push it into the pot, you get about 3 foot, and they like to be tethered because the wind does havoc with them. And habanero, I've got one growing now actually, but I'm hoping it'll go well. In the past, I've had habaneros, you know, volunteer in the corner of my compost, and they've come up and they've been brilliant. But the ones I had in the garden, the wind got and blew them over. The trick is to make them. When they grow to about 2.5 feet, you really cut half it off. But then all those little bits in between the branches down the bottom will shoot out side shoots. Makes the plant stronger. That's why I do it in windy conditions, because I'd rather have a bushy chili bush with lots of chilies on it instead of a tall one, which looks good. But tall chili bushes tend to have small chilies near the top. You still got a good 3.5, 4 months of growing season where you are. For sure. But if you're a bit wary about what I'm saying about cutting them, just do one. And then you can have an eye on it for the rest of the year and see how it goes for you. If it works out well, then you can do more. Yeah, tomato, I mean, ours have been going berserk. But like I say, we're 3 days well over 40. And all these beautiful tomatoes. near the surface or being exposed to the sun, it literally fried them. I should have done a video. The ones underneath, they're all right, but the ones that were exposed a bit, it's like putting your tomatoes in an oven at 45 degrees. They will eventually cook. Near the end of their growing season, the plant usually looks a bit daggy, a few leaves going brown, which is normal, don't panic. But you think, oh, this is coming to an end shortly. I've got two at the back that I've stopped watering because the plant's smart. What the plant does is now think, righto, I've got a bit of moisture left, I'm going to fill up my tomatoes. That works. Yeah, you've had a lot of rain. You had a bit of a heat burst there for a while, but now we've got fairly mild weather other than Monday and Tuesday, which is coming in at about 100. It's going down to about the 32s, 33s, 34s, so that's good weather for growing. But you always get amazed when your tomatoes are amazing. Like you'll plant a tomato bush, and then when you think back on how many tomatoes you get off it, it's like staggering. And when you go to the supermarket and see them at $15 a kilo, you can pick yours anytime you like. But don't be frightened to pick them just as they're turning from that green to a sort of an orangey. JP, if you've got a heat coming on, you don't want them all to be ripe at the same time. So pull off half of the green ones, put them in a tray, just in the kitchen somewhere, and they will go red. But the thing about having too many tomatoes at the same time, which I've had 3 times this year, is I've ended up making a whole heap of sauces. No, I haven't been going live for a long time, to be honest. It's the first time in a while. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know the time difference. Yeah, that's the secret, like I say. If you get that, because, I mean, there's nothing better than a really ripe tomato straight off the bush. And I do that. I go down with a knife and a bit of salt and pepper. Just eat it. In the wild. In the hinterland of my backyard. But when I get, like I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 kilo in a couple of days, I took them off just before they were turning red. Man, we had a heap. I'm about to get more tomorrow. But I'm concentrating now on letting those ones that I've had growing for the last 3 months finish. And always in late December I plant another crop of tomatoes. So I get tomatoes for 6 to 7 months of the year. And some of the species of the smaller tomatoes which last better in the cool weather, they may be perennial where I'm putting them, which is up against the side of a fence. They get half sun, half shade. They get a lot of wind protection. So it'll be interesting to see if we can pull a few of these over for perennials. I'm trying to do the same with my chilies. We don't, as a rule, get a frost. It's not saying we wouldn't get one, but we should be able to make our chilies. What I'll do, I'll cut them down real low if it gets real cold, and I'll just cover them in straw. So they become dormant anyway, and all you want to protect is the rootstock. Because when it gets warmer and fires up, well, we get some nice days in winter, 24, 25. So you might get lucky. But you've still got to prune your tomato or chili. Actually, you wouldn't be able, I'm not sure, unless you took them inside. You got them in pots. You might be able to winter them, but you don't need to listen to me. You can just Google overwintering chilies and they prune them back and they take them inside. And they, for those 3 months that it's bloody cold where you are, you'll get by. They'll be fine. And then your chilies will be 2 years, and they become perennial as they enter their 3rd year. And they become quite woody and stocky and bushy. Tons of chilies. I always have half a dozen lettuce growing. At the moment I'm just growing iceberg, because that's the time of the year that I like my iceberg, in the middle of the heat. It is true, yeah. If you just don't water them as you know that it's coming near the end. They really pull up whatever they can. The root system pulls up whatever it can, and it's the capsicum within the chili, capsicanatus or whatever it's called. It fires up, and to get what you do is if you see the best chili on your bushes, you don't pick it. You leave it there. You take off the other 100, but you leave that real beauty, and it dries on the bush, and that's your seed stock. Always pick the best of your fruit or veg for seed stock. So far this year I've saved spring onion, spinach, beans, some herbs, because I don't intend to pay for seeds, just keep using my own. I've got tons of spinach, my goodness. Actually, I'll tell you what normally nibbles on chilies is parrots. They love the capsicum within the chili, the actual chemical. Or let a few of your spring onions flower up, get that little ball head going, and just leave them. You'll know when the plant, you'll start seeing little tiny black seeds popping out of the head. Oh, I did the other day, and I've got thousands of them. But it's the best time of the year for your garden. You go out there, and yeah, sometimes the heat gets to some stuff, and not. Well, here it does. But generally, you're always picking fruit. I've actually got eggplant. I showed the missus today. One of them's just starting to form into a purple eggplant. So, and she's going to try and cook with it. No, not really. We watch stuff on YouTube that would bore most other people. But mainly we've had all the kids here, all the grandkids, friends. Today's our peaceful day. And like I say, we're looking after the 2 dogs. But man, we were flat out. My daughter came up last week before Christmas, and she had an operation on her ankle. So she was convalescing here for about a week with her 3 kids. And my son came up with his 2 kids. And then all the other kids and grandkids came around. And I spent basically the Christmas period just standing next to the stove cooking. So tonight it was leek, bacon and potato soup, which was rather pleasant. And tonight the temperature is 25, so it's quite a nice mild night here tonight. Just quickly show the missus that she is here, playing a game of some sort. We had actually I bought this thing from Coles. It's Italian roast pork. It's already cooked. It's probably a couple of kilos, about 30 odd bucks. That worked out real good for Christmas. And a ham, of course. We've got a little bit of pork left and a little bit of ham left. A few other leftovers. But what I couldn't freeze, we will throw away, which is not much because I actually made a chili beef up, like a chili con carne, and the wife made German potato salad and put a bit of potato salad and then the chili con carne, if you like, next to it. That was nice. So we had, I prepped before Christmas. Yeah, it's called salad, Kartoffel salad, which is just potato salad with a bit of raw onion, mixture of, what's that vinegar you use in that one?
In what?
In your salad, Kartoffel.
In my potato salad, it's apple cider vinegar with mother.
Yeah, apple cider vinegar, onion, mayonnaise, and potatoes. How she cooks the potatoes, she cooks them with the skin on. lets them cool a bit, peels the skin off, then slices them. That always gets eaten. Yeah, but we've had enough of the, we had, like say, here, and I made a pavlova. There's not much to watch, I don't think. I imagine, JP. The demise of Boyd is complete. Return to base. Yes, Obi-Wan. Yep, boring. A couple of occasions it's come up in my feed and I'll go and see what Vinny's doing. I don't type in there. I spent about 2 minutes and he's just a miserable bugger. He's so pissed off with the world. He needs to get out, turn the bloody computer off. So I think some people let the social media, dominate. Yeah, but JP, we've all been down the road where it gets dark, you enter a tunnel, you either stop and let moss grow in you, or you think, shit, I'll just keep going and see what happens. And when you keep going and see what happens, sometimes good stuff happens. My grandfather had the best saying going, if what you're doing now is not working, stop doing it. Pretty sure there was a Monty Python sketch where some guy said, well, what's my life going to be like? And the guy said, well, I'll just pull out your reel. It's a whole reel of your life we've got here. What did you say? Oh, some people wear clothes like a teenager, smoke dope and drink a lot. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Anyway, back to the skit. It was two of the Pythons, one reading out what's my life going to be? And it was like, well, there's, and the guy said, lean out and said, what's that bit there? So, oh, that's just shit. Right, and it went off about 30 seconds. What about all that? Nah, it's all shit. Oh, hang on, there's a good bit here. Someone bought you a drink. Right, keep rolling through the tape. Yeah. And what's that bit? Nah, it's just shit. Actually, your life's full of shit. There's a few little highlights, but other than that, life's a piece of shit. And that skit, I believe, is how the song in the life of Brian was created. Life's a piece of shit when you think of it. And it's probably true in many ways. If you could, for one moment, get your reel of life, even up to the date we are now, and then put all the good bits together out of the odd years that you are of age, and think, there's probably 200 minutes of good stuff. The rest is just work, ill, angry. Oh, another good bit. Yep, that's life. That's what people say. So enjoy the good bits when they come along. It's a bit rich at the moment though, JP. Got the New Zealanders can go anywhere they like in Australia. But can we go to New Zealand? No. We're thinking of shooting over to New South Wales for a week, but you've all got infected. Well, not all of you, some of you. We had a stupid woman in Perth yesterday. Came back, had to go into quarantine. She's a nutter, absolute nutter. And she got arrested. She doesn't realise that she'll be going to jail. Are you sending me to jail because I'm crazy? No, we're sending you to jail because you're stupid. No, it's not nice sciatica. Literally a pain in the ass. Hello, Leroy. The 29th. Well, we're pretty good here in Australia. There's been an outbreak north of Sydney, but at this stage it doesn't look bad. But we haven't had an infection in my state, Western Australia, since March. Yeah, it must be a pain in the arse though. When you must do a lot of standing up, I imagine, JP. You can find a second-hand Niagara therapy pad. I've got one here actually. I used to work for the company for a few years, and they really help with sciatica. The problem with sciatica can go up your back, across your ass, down your hip, down to your knee, and just give you a jip all day. But they do work. So a second-hand Niagara, as in the falls, therapy pad. Standing kills you, yeah. The problem is, obviously, when that sciatica kicks in, you're probably knocking back the painkillers. So how's life in Canada, Leroy, other than being locked down to the 29th? I did emphasise the word Niagara, but that's all right. You get yourself a Viagra therapy pad. It'll work out well for you. Must be the Canadian and Australian thing. Even when things get tough, we try and look at the good stuff. In amongst all the shit, there's a bit of sugar. Just got to dig away a little bit. I don't know if you've been watching The Orange Man, Leroy. I said it 6 months ago and I'll repeat it today. The Orange Man will be wearing the same coloured jumpsuit by July 4th, 2021. Just about guaranteed. Yeah, Voltaren. No, I'm saying we can use Voltaren gel, but that only attends to the, secondary pain. Is there not maybe a chiropractic solution to your problem, or an operation? Because I know what it is, JP. If you haven't got sciatica, you just can't get your wallet out your back pocket. It's causing you a lot of grief. You're around, son. You'll shout. Yes, I think Mr. Trump has crossed the line many times, other than culpable negligence in killing many Americans. But boy, these latest pardons, it's like watching the mafia being released. I'm waiting for his Twitter account to disappear. Yeah, pretty much guaranteed. Good morning, VMAC. How are you? Yeah, you can't have much cortisone, that's the problem. You're just getting old, JP. I'll have to send you for your birthday a walking stick. -1 the other day where VMAC was.
Oh, hey VMAC.
It was a little bit warmer here. I swear if VMAC was here, we'd have to keep her in the fridge.
Yeah.
Just, drill a couple of holes in so we can talk to her. Yes, I think the new year may bring hope for many people, but probably not those in America not getting any Social Security, people not getting paid, the government closing down. Maybe they could all take up playing golf. Seems to be the pastime of the president. Maybe everyone could just forget about working and eating and play golf. To 15 degrees, man, that's unusual. Actually, a friend of ours, Box, you met him every now and then. He did a video today and it's like hardly any snow. And he's in the 43rd parallel, way up north. And he said it's unusual. Do you get the winter storms there? I imagine you do, VMAC. As in, I'm not talking snow, that's a given when it comes, but, you know, big fronts of cold air come crashing in. Geez, 15 degrees, I'm rugged up like an Eskimo. -1 and snowing. It's funny, it doesn't matter where I've been in the world, and it's the same. When I was a kid in the UK, on those days that you knew it was going to snow, you just need to look up to the sky. It's like someone had got a pair of dirty old socks and put it in a bucket, because that was the colour of the clouds and sky. The dirtier the sky, the more snow, and then you get the real heavy snow, and then you get a whiteout. Yeah, the problem with getting that rain, Leroy, can be followed by an ice storm if there's that much moisture around. The sleet when I was a kid, I never forget the sleet. I used to walk, seriously, 4 mile to school and back. In the middle of winter, it's dark by 4 o'clock, so walking home in the dark, and it's like little barbed wire hitting you in the face. Unpleasant at best. Yeah, ice rink instantaneously. We've got another friend that lives in Canada, and he each year digs doesn't dig, he redigs it out, a pond. So when it freezes over, they've got their own 20 by 20 foot ice rink. North Atlantic and the Gulf Stream. Yeah, I mean, that's the same as the UK. Where you live, you get that. It might hit, it might not. We were in Ireland last year, and it was beautiful weather most of the time. And it didn't rain much, it just came in real cold, didn't it? Just a snap.
Yeah.
Remember, we're on the ferry to get back to the UK. And it went from beautiful, nice morning to someone deep freezing us. All right, JP, sleep well, my friend. Yeah, holiday, Boxing Day in Australia. They have their traditional Boxing Day test. Most people get 4 to 6 weeks annual leave, and most of the country is open between about the 20th of December until the 6th. It's sort of just open because everyone sort of takes those 2 weeks off. Yeah, we had friends from the US years and years ago, and they were getting excited because they had 3 extra days on their 2 weeks holiday. So they had to fly to Australia, it takes a day to fly back, that takes care of the extra days. And then they have 2 weeks annual leave, and I said, well, do you get more? And they go, no. Okay, most Australians get at least 4 weeks, if not 6 or 8. I used to get 8 when I was in the prison service. Yeah, I know, it's like I say, Box is a lot further north than you. And he said it was just eerie. Like he's probably got 4 inches of snow on the ground. And this time of the year, I've known him for a long, long time. He could drive down the road and he'd have, snow drifts 10 feet high either side of the road. And now he's got 6 inches of snow on the ground. Oh, here comes the puppy dogs. See if we can film them. Here they are, the little monsters. Penny, Marley, say good day to the mob. Say good day. How are you? All right? Yeah, with her babysitting. Oh, Big yawn. See that?
That's because I woke him up to go to the toilet.
Yeah, they'll be going down the back to go on the lawn to do a wee or even something else. Right, didn't see any texts in. Here we go. We're sitting outside. Yeah. Wow. Well, you can toboggan on about 2 inches of snow. Not comfortably, but you can. Yeah, I mean, this is what I said to my friend Box the other day, is that, and I've been around a long time, so I can judge it, but in one's lifetime, you shouldn't notice the change in weather. But I have. I mean, what we're seeing in this country is summer's coming earlier. Like it's been August and September. And normally our heat comes in January and February, and we've had our heat for this month and a half already. I used to love tobogganing as a kid. If you get clever, you can actually steer it. Unless you get at a lot of speed, then you can't steer it at all. But we can travel just about anywhere in our country, but we'd like to go, me and the missus want to do a holiday in New Zealand, because we've been there, it's beautiful. We'd like to go to Canada, but that won't be happening for a long time, I don't think. Certainly won't be going to the US. No, 15 seems warm. In fact, that's our minimum tonight, 15. I think it's 15.
Righto.
It's a weird time of the year because, like I say, summer's come early. But during summer, in the old days, you'd get 45 during the day and you get about 30 at night. We're getting 45 during the day and we're getting 14 and 15. So I'll get up in the morning, have a cup of tea and come out rugged up. But we've had all the kids and grandkids here over the last week. Daughter was here. She had an operation on her ankle. She spent about a week here. Just had everybody, which is good. We enjoy it. But we're exhausted. So yesterday afternoon and today, it's just relaxing time.
Righto.
12 degrees. You should come to Australia one day, VMAC, but not in summer. May and June. You'd love it here.
You want to go back in?
Temps are about 22 during the day and about 10 at night.
Go on, Ken. Righto.
Do they do a wee?
Yep.
VMAC says she woke up in the night. It was 12. And I thought the boy demons had dragged me off to Aussie land.
Well, it's cold now, actually.
Well, when we say cold, it's 25 degrees.
Yeah, but the wind.
It's cold, VMAC, at 25. It's about 16 this morning when I got up.
VMAC needs to blow some of her weather here Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, we're getting 39, 40, I think.
I don't want that.
Well, we're going to get it.
Well, that's not good for Skittles.
Well, he said he's been through hotter. I remember when we
They
were looking.
put her inside when it's that hot. They don't leave her out.
Have to give her a hose down, I suppose. She might like that. 25 is a nice hot summer day. It's funny, you know, like if you've travelled around and you get people like in Germany, and I was freezing there. And the people saying, it's a beautiful day, yeah? I'm thinking, yeah, no, mate, it's not. It's freezing. Had a big, what's that, Lederhosen party they had when we were in Stuttgart. What was that, Mandy?
Huh?
What was that Lederhosen festival they had? And all the girls and
Oktoberfest.
we went.
Yeah, it's what they call their spring carnival.
Well, it wasn't October. It was May. So anyway, there was thousands of these young people dressed up in all the old German gear.
It's called something festival. It's spring
Yeah.
or whatever season was there.
Anything to drink. Germans like a drink. One thing about in Germany, the food is magnificent. Big street vendors, food is magnificent. I don't know if they have street vendors in Canada. 16-2 in the World Junior Hockey Tourney. Well done. There's not a lot of ice hockey that goes on down here, I must admit, in Australia. When Aussies go, well, we got ice rinks for people, you know, will go skating. Aussie, you rock up at an ice rink, stick your six-pack on the ice, spin around the circuit a couple of times and sit down and drink a couple of beers. Food trucks, yeah, they'd have to be in a food truck. It'd be too cold otherwise. We have a lot of markets here. You can go and there's all types of food from all over the world. It's all good too. Sometimes a bit pricey. Oh yeah. Is it a seafood thing or is it just a food shack in general? We get a lot of places around Australia that's on the coast and predominantly seafood because we've got a lot of it. Because what makes a country is its people and its diversity. Go to any major city in the world, they're nearly all the same. As soon as you head out into the smaller towns, villages, then you get to see a lot of stuff. Clams and chip places. Yeah, when I was a kid, I know my mum used to buy Winkles in a cone, like a newspaper cone. And they weren't really, I didn't really like them. Little tiny Winkles with salt and vinegar. There were clams, mussels, similar thing. But definitely fish and chips. Like you could, if you come over with your husband, me and the missus, we could eat well here for about $15 with more chips than you could eat and a good piece of fish each. So, because it's so popular, it's quite, yes, Winkles. That's how you spell it too, Winkles. I saw that. You know what that reminded me of when I saw the first photograph of that today, VMAC? Was like a gelato. Obviously, it wasn't gelato, but that's what it looked like, you know, all the bins. And I thought it looked really cool. And because it had been covered for so long, even the artwork on the side of the bins was pretty good. There'll be another 100 years digging that out. It's tiny little cones. If you can imagine a little cone, probably about an inch long, and they use a winkler. Yeah, did you see that photo of the unearthed, I suppose you'd call it a takeaway store? But the Italians haven't changed for 2,000 years. Most of these places you go to in Italy would be a simple case of exactly the same. Just no volcano. A lot of countries eat out. You go to Thailand, rarely do people cook at home. What's a big destination for Canadians to travel? I would think Europe, obviously the US, but do a lot of Canadians go to Europe? Because you've got a lot of ancestry from Europe for most Canadians. You don't go to Cuba, Leroy. Come on. You haven't got a 1956 Oldsmobile and a big fat cigar driving down Havana. Cuba, really? My goodness. Let me guess. Because it's cheap. We've got a place called Bali. That's real cheap. A mate of mine told me years ago, he lived in Canada, he said, we can't afford to go to America. Hotel is $150 a night. Everything's so expensive. Yeah. It's the same with Bali, Leroy. Wherever we've been in the world, we've always met other Aussies. Cuba is the prime place and the Americans don't go there. Don't know why. I think it'd be a great place to go. Very relaxed people. Got Cubans in Australia. They're real cool. But he couldn't go to America. He had 2 kids, missus. He said they could go to Europe, still come home with money for a month, or go to the US for a week. Now, the easterly wind's kicking in tonight, which means it's going to get hotter off the desert. What about Europe? Do people in Canada go to Europe as a rule? Like, I'm talking about national hereditary, like family still in the UK or Scotland. That's weird. I've seen several documentaries, and Cuba seems a very peaceful, relaxable place. Obviously, there's crap places within every country. It's like you could go to Lebanon, and you think it's magnificent, but you're not being bombed. An unwritten rule by both sides: don't bomb this particular part because this is where the tourists go. Are they expensive? Look, I wouldn't fly in cattle class anymore because I'm too old and long, but I could fly to the UK and back for 990 Australian dollars, which is about the same as the US dollar. And we're a lot further away from the UK than you guys. We can fly to Canada for about, I think it was $1,500, the cheapest flight, and that's a return price. I've been to many communist countries, and most of the people, like us, are fine. It's all due to one man called Fidel Castro and the Bay of Pigs. Never saw one pig in the whole enactment. Ottawa to Heathrow, 1K. That doesn't seem right. Let me guess, Leroy. I'm just saying, in my mind, that's about a 10-hour flight. 9 hours. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of you, mate. 9 hours 20. Jeez, mate, we're 24 hours away. I can fly to London and back for 990. Well, not now, obviously. Australians are not permitted to leave Australia under the Health Act. See, our governments, being what they are overridden by the health department. And they decide what opens and closes. And then the Premier or the Prime Minister says, yeah, we're going to do this. It's like where we live in Perth, we're on the west coast of Australia, 4,000 kilometres away or more to the east coast. And if I want to fly from Perth to, say, Queenstown, it's only a 7-hour flight. And I think that at the moment, when it opens up in a few months, it's going to be something like $900 return. One of the airlines we've used a lot is Singapore Airlines, and I can't praise them enough. They're brilliant. You know, they're not, the staff will look around and think, oh, that bloke's gone to sleep. And when I saw this guy next to me, he was snoozing when they were bringing out dinner. And when he woke up, and one of the hostesses said, we've saved you a dinner. Would you like it now? Little things like that, you know, which I thought was pretty good. Not, oh, you've missed the boat, we had dinner 2 hours ago. Yeah, well, I don't know why people would be travelling to the UK. Maybe compassionate reasons, I'm not sure, but under no circumstance would I fly back to the UK at the moment. Have they started to roll out a vaccine of any sort in Canada? We're not seeing it for months and months and months, but that's okay. We haven't got any virus. Well, I shouldn't be outraged. Flying during a pandemic, you should expect anything. I'm still staggered at the death mortality rate in the US of over 3,000 a day. Pfizer vaccine has started. It's like the anti-vaxxers. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but they always tend to march and complain and yell and scream. And I just say to all these anti-vaxxers, just don't take it. You don't have to go out in the streets and scream and complain. Just don't take it. And Moderna as well. Okay. I mean, there's one thing having a vaccine, but because this thing is so easily spread, those that don't, look, it's one of these ironies, probably from about the middle of this coming year until the end, those that don't take it may suffer terribly. So, I mean, I've read so many stories, and there's videos on YouTube of people that were anti this and anti that with the disease, didn't exist. That on their deathbed with COVID-19 said, I was wrong. So it takes death to realise for some of these people. But anti-vaccination is not new. I remember when I was a kid and they were doing rubella and all the other ones, and you know, when I was a kid, smallpox was alive and running, polio, all these things that they've got under control. You still get outbreaks of smallpox in very small amounts in certain countries, and you still get kids that die from diseases that have had vaccines for 40 years, but nowhere near the numbers they used to before. Yeah, yeah. I've been quite amused by the fact that quietly a lot of Republican politicians are rolling their sleeves up. But I think one of the charges against the current president will be, and I mean this sincerely, culpable negligence. I think the Bob Woodward interview has nailed his coffin closed as far as an excuse. And what is he doing while 3,000 Americans are dying and every day, and people are not going to get their Social Security check this week, and the military's not going to get paid, and the government's going to close down? What is he doing? Playing golf. It's all right having an opinion, but as I said to many, many people, if you don't want to take the vaccine, don't take it. But they, for some reason, the anti-vaxxers want to march and pressure everyone saying it's a lie, it's all hoax. Well, if you're a lady or a man of your conviction and you don't want to get vaccinated, just don't get vaccinated. You don't need to march and impose your views on other people. Well, I'll tell you what's happening in China at the moment. China have developed their own vaccines, as you all know. Not really gone through the procedure of, proper testing. But recently, as late last week, the Chinese government acquired 100 million doses. I think it's the Pfizer, but it's coming from Germany. Now, what's happening with those 100 million doses? They're not going out to the villagers or people that work in the fields. No, they're not getting it. The elite are getting that. This is supposed to be a communist country where all men and women are equal. No, it's an authoritarian country. And there are 50 ships of Australian coal sitting off the shores of China that they've refused entry. Whilst many Chinese cities now that rely on coal for energy, because it's thermal coal we send them, are having their power turned off. I have a suspicion, I don't know what you guys think, but I'm pretty sure China is in trouble on an economic stage. They won't tell anyone what's going on, but they're telling people to turn their power off. There are people walking up 30 flights of stairs to get to their unit because the lifts have been turned off. I kid you not. This is coming from Chinese news. Well, I think what will happen, probably for 5 years, I'm guesstimating, you won't be able to travel internationally without having the vaccine or vaccine card, as you say. But I think after 5 years, when it dies down and there's nothing, that will be rescinded. Because not everybody is going to get the vaccine. There's even talk in the UK, which I don't think will go down well, that all teachers must get vaccinated. Well, the word must never settles well with anyone in the Western world. If I walked up to Leroy and said, you must take this vaccine, like me, I'd say, I'll decide if and when I take it. You won't be telling me anything. Well, I think you'll need a vaccination card. It'll be a standard card that says you've been vaccinated, whatever it is, and you're clear to fly. But I think airline companies will be put under pressure by government saying, no vaccine card, no fly. I don't have a problem with the vaccine. I don't have a need for it at the moment. We're not going anywhere. We don't have any virus. And we're not likely to get it till, they're saying, June. Mainly because the government's not that worried. But if you were going to fly, and Cuba's a good example, there's plenty of mosquito-borne diseases in Cuba, or any like Venezuela or Peru. If most Western people, when they fly to those countries, they have several shots so you don't die from a local disease. In essence, they take vaccines before they go. Pretty sure, because we don't have any need of it at the moment, when it is available, you simply go to your local GP and you'll be given the jab or 2 jabs as required. Well, having more is better than having less, for sure. Like I say, the amount of vaccines that we have taken, you didn't get a choice when you were a kid, you just jabbed, weren't you? It happens now when a kid's, 12 months, 2 years old, they get all sorts of jabs in Australia. And I'm pretty sure no Canadian will be paying for the vaccine. We're not going to be paying for it here, it'll be free. But I always, it amuses me when people use the words, "You're impinging on my freedom and liberty." We were accused of hoarding it by the WHO before a single dose even arrived. I don't know. If the country wants to buy X amount, it's up to them. Maybe Trudeau is going to give some of the vaccine to other countries. I can tell you what is forming around the world. We've talked about this before, but the UK, Canada, Australia, and several other countries are involved in a situation where there'll be a lot of cheaper flights going to basically Commonwealth countries, I might as well say it. Trade is up between all countries at the moment. The extra is going to go to poor countries. I think we should now make them pay for it because of the accusation. No, I don't think. If there's extra vaccine and Canada can give it to poorer countries, that's a good thing. They can't afford to get anything. The word poor means they're probably not going to line up with a big wad full of dollars saying, yeah, I'll buy some. Canada and Australia are very wealthy countries. You start talking about where do we sit. We sit about 10 or 11th as far as wealth that goes around the planet, so we're okay. We're all going to go through an economic crush because of the COVID-19. That's inevitable. Well, it's up to your country's politicians, I guess, BMAC, but yeah, no, Pakistan aren't real, There've got a lot of Pakistanis in Australia and they're nice. Isn't it funny, all these people from around the world that people say, oh, these Mexicans are bad and Puerto Rican, we've got them all in Australia, they're fine. I think it really relates and relays through to how that country's run. It's like the Chinese in Australia, there's 6th and 7th generation Chinese here, and they're as Aussies as you can imagine. They're Chinese, but they wouldn't go back to China for a reason. That's why, when you see an opportunity, imagine if you were Vietnamese and you were lucky enough to get to Canada in the 70s and 80s. They've now been there 40 years, 50 years, and they would look back and think, why can't my country be like this? Because Canada for them would be heaven. Same in Australia. You could probably hear the easterly wind kicking in like a furnace during the middle of summer. But the US is in a terrible mess at the moment. It just shouldn't have happened. That's why I say it's culpable negligence. And all the brown-nosing, not all of them, Republican senators in particular, have just nodded to whatever this president has said. They're going to pay a price. Mark my words. Some of them might actually be joining the president in their own particular wing of a certain prison. Rikers is nice this time of year, apparently. To fancy laying out pardons like a mafia boss to all the people that could possibly take you down. It's all going to look very messy real soon. See, the one thing that's obvious to me is that President Bush's hatred of the Republican Party is showing through quite clearly now. No, I don't think it will be, Leroy. I don't think it will be. I think the judicial system, if it reaches the Supreme Court, will ensure that they're separated like scattering Maltesers to the skies. There'll be no leather couches and 84-inch televisions. No, won't be any of that. Federal prisons are uniform in their punishment. There is no luxury king suite in a federal prison. Poor old Melania. I think shortly, tell me if I'm wrong in about, I don't know, 20 odd days. Distant sort of hazy 4-stroke motor, smoke coming off the back of a moped with Melania with bags of cash and the pool boy heading into the sunset. Fuck you, Donald. Yep, I can see that. She might go to Cuba. But I don't think there's a country on the planet that would accept them if they were thinking of migrating to Canada, for example. I don't think that will happen. Certainly won't happen here. Yep. Absolutely, VMAC. She was, I believe, a model. I'm not sure what of. I do believe in the US you can serve an amount of time in a federal prison for federal crime and asked after a qualifying period, to go to a state prison. I think that is quite true. It's the same here. Usually to allow access for family to visit, but I don't think the Trumps will have to worry about family access. I don't think Melania is going to visit the whole mob. I'm not going there, no. No, I think they'll have a Trump wing. It's interesting watching the mafia release Jared Kushner's father. That was interesting, along with all the others. It really was like watching the mafia boss release the mafia boys from prison. It's all going to backfire horribly. Secret Service agents can't carry their weapons. Well, they can here. They certainly can here. They're called ASIO in Australia. I've taken prisoners to military bases where ASIO will be there, and you do a handover, and they certainly carry weapons. You don't have a secret service. You've probably got a federal police, though, that would undertake things like that. Protection of Trudeau, mainly from Melania Trump. Let me go to Justin, I want to kiss him again. No, I knew that. Yeah, Canada's quite strict as far as anyone carrying weapons. Which is probably why not that many Canadians die from gunshot wounds. I can't help but every time I see the RCMP put in text to think of, I am a lumberjack and I'm okay. Not derogatory, I'm just saying, it just reminds me of the pythons. That was the question I was going to ask you guys. Has Celine Dion over this last year just returned to Canada? Since I'm pretty sure there wasn't much happening at Las Vegas. Yeah, we can have weapons. The Americans don't think probably you or I can have a weapon, but that's not true. But probably like Canadians, Australians, if they have weapons, usually to go hunting, to eat something, not to kill each other. Come on. Every night in my dreams, VMAC is freezing. I'm just saying, I know she was in Las Vegas, but there's no shows happening. Or is there? Can't imagine Americans being that stupid. Man, I saw a photo of her middle of this year. She is so skinny. She is so skinny. She was never big anyway. But everything's open here. Everywhere you go, like in shops, people just, even if there's no more dots on the floor, they just give you about 6 feet. It's like normal to do that now. Doesn't seem like much of a holiday going into a dive where there's probably fleas and nits and drunks and druggies. Why would you do that? Is that a holiday? I don't think there's much left of Boyd, is there? Leroy and VMAC. Pretty sure. I did a video about a year ago saying the desolation of Boyd was coming. And it's come. Oh, that's just crazy. Leroy. Why would people do that? It's like saying to snowbirds, tell you what, cover yourself in blood and then walk into the ocean where there are lots of white pointers. You should be okay. Away you go. There are some of us around. I think, I would imagine Canadians, like Australians, are spending more time having holiday in Canada. The amount of tourism in our state is mind-blowing. Well, I did read an article that said, on average, American hospitals are at 97% capacity. That doesn't sound good. That would certainly point to those people saying, oh, it's not real. Well, the average occupation rate at hospital is about 42% normally. They gave the comparison, not me. But in my state, West Australians, it's a very wealthy state in West Australia. At any given time, 10% of the population is flying around the world normally. Holidays here, there and everywhere. But they can't leave the country, so they have just gone in their droves to all our tourist destinations here, which is good. People get to see their own country. I don't think COVID would be covered by travel insurance. Definitely not now. Maybe if you were in another country with insurance, maybe that was an obligation they had to fulfill. But most Western countries, I mean, if I sadly got COVID in Canada, it wouldn't cost me anything. And same if you or Leroy came to Australia, it wouldn't cost you anything. Not so much in the US. I would imagine how bad the president in the US has got, that these words may be spoken this coming week, and that is possibly a pursuant of the 25th Amendment, which is the removal of a president. See if I'm right, see if that plays out, whether there's talk in the media or politicians in regards to implementing the 25th Amendment, which is the removal of a president. I'm with you, Leroy. I think he's gone. I think he'll just be playing golf. Or maybe, just maybe, flying to another country, yeah? Just for Daniel Donald. He owes so much money everywhere. I don't know where he would go. Lithuania? I can just see him in the mountains of Papua New Guinea with just a grass skirt on, big belly sticking out. They'll never find me here. I'm afraid, Leroy, in my opinion, based on what I perceive, not only is he finished, but nearly everybody associated with him. One thing that I'm sure he's looked into and had special lawyers like Giuliano and other crazies say to him, well, if you get pardoned, you'll be good. Well, that doesn't work on a state level, and it doesn't work for future crimes. If you've pardoned people to cover a crime, that is a future crime. I did see that in Kalaga. He apparently said that no one would live there permanently. I think even some of the die-hard supporters that he had are starting to go, this is not looking good. It looks like he's a crook. Yeah, well, I don't even know if he's there now. Maybe he's just in one of his hotels, I don't know. Without doubt, it won't be me, but without doubt, a book will be released in the future, The Rise and Fall of Donald Trump. Guaranteed. That book will come out, The Rise and Fall of Donald Trump. Probably written by Melania Trump. Or Melania. She may not like me calling Melania. Melania. I don't know about you guys. I know in Australia, and I'm pretty sure I know in Canada, if you had a leader like that, he wouldn't have survived the first year. He would have been ousted, removed from office. There would be so many motions of no confidence here and there if he was our leader that he'd be removed. Oh yeah, I think, well, if you talk about Tricky Dicky and the aspects of what he did and the cover-up that he implemented, of course Gerald Ford gave him a pardon. However, a lot of those people that were on the edge of that copped it for decades, there's no doubt. They got away from a lot of prison time. I don't think the people in this current administration will be so fortunate. I am envisaging the Supreme Court being challenged, particularly on these pardons. They are obviously given for one reason, and that's to cover the arse of the current president. And as such, that could be taken and challenged in the Supreme Court. How it would go, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure there are people thinking of that very thing right now. He had probably the toughest presidency, Gerald Ford. Man, was he bundled with a lot of crap. No, but what they can challenge, VMAG, is the fact that if the pardons were issued for the purpose of a criminal cover-up, that can be challenged. I don't know whether it would be successful, but that could be challenged. Because pardons as such, there have never been as controversial pardons than have been given in this last couple of weeks, ever. Like I say, the criminal justice system has had a slap in the face. And like I say, if the future charges against the current president would stand up in court, there'd be no doubt that those pardons would be looked at. You understand where I'm going with this? If a criminal conviction was eventually garnished against the current president in the future, all the pardons that he did would certainly be looked at. So that's unfolding, but I'm pretty sure there's a challenge coming shortly on the validity of these pardons based on what the real pardons were meant to be. That's like he has no standing in state, any state, just federal. But the Supreme Court's never been asked whether the validity of these so-called releases and pardons given to what looks like basically everyone involved with the Mueller report and the Russian investigation and other mates that have been convicted of crimes that they've admitted to and they've been given pardons. That is a slap in the judicial face of America. And the Supreme Court has never been asked whether a pardon is valid or not. Yeah, I know, but I tell you what, that can happen. Even if these people get away with it, VMAC, I would envisage if that was the case. Say a challenge was taken to the Supreme Court by someone, whoever, in regards to the validity of these pardons. And if it's rejected and they say, no, the pardons will stand, I would just about guarantee within Congress in the US that there could be an amendment to the Constitution. No, they haven't. No, that's what I'm saying. It's one of those legal terms that says, well, it's new ground. No pardons have ever been challenged. I agree. But not all the pardons in the past were for your mates that would cover you up in a court of law regarding criminal charges. That's culpable, which means it could be challenged. Whether it was convictions came from it, I don't know, but it would have to eventually get to the Supreme Court. I mean, from the outside looking in, I don't know whether you have the same opinion, but one thing he's managed to do over 4 years is totally destroy the GOP. The Republican Party doesn't even look anything like the Republican Party, even from just 4 years ago. So he's one party that he's destroyed is not the Democratic Party, it's the Republican Party. But we'll see. I do believe he will end up going to prison, myself. He won't be alone, though. Well, that's the Mueller report, Leroy. Just look at the people he's pardoned. 80% of them have everything to do with the Russian cover-up. Some of these people that were in prison that are now been released admitted their guilt. It's not like they lost the case. They admitted their guilt in lying to the FBI and Congress, etc. So he's releasing convicted criminals of a federal offence due to the fact that the President has the power to pardon. But all these people have been covering up for him. That's why, if an investigation eventually got to the Supreme Court, all of these pardons, and it would be a carte blanche by the Supreme Court, they'd say all of the pardons are rescinded. That is a big possibility. Of course, if they deny that and say, no, we've got to go with what the Constitution wrote in 1776 and he can pardon whoever he likes, it would mean that the Constitution itself, by Congress, may get changed to stop this ever happening again. But I put my money on the people of the rule of law standing up against this tyranny. I believe that. If you turn a blind eye and say that all men are not equal in the United States of America, what is the point of the Constitution? I don't even think he knows much about the US Constitution himself. I don't think he's illiterate, but he's damn close. Well, it's not so much the people that would challenge, it would be lawyers and it would be the Justice Department. See, what happens on the 20th of January, new people come in and on their desk there may be applications for a charge to be laid. Now, of course, forget about all that for a second. There is quite a lot, I think up to 13 state charges that the current president cannot get out of, like his taxes and the apparent lady who he ostracised, claiming she was raped by him. On the 21st of January, by law, the federal FBI can go around and seek and force a DNA sample, just like you or me, because he would just be a normal citizen. So I wouldn't want to be him for quids. Yes. I think that their, I could use the same word, their constitution, individually of course I'm saying, is very thin-skinned. They don't take a joke very well. They can't see irony or humour a lot of the time. And that's just the nature of the beast, I think. It's like if I came to Canada, let's say you and Leroy were in a bar, I expect you to take the piss out of me, saying funny things about Australia and whatever, because that's normal. Americans don't like that at all. They don't see the humour in that at all, whereas I would just laugh. But we'll see what unfolds. Personally, I would like a better life for Americans. I don't see universal healthcare as an issue, and yet some do there. I don't get it. If you have a healthy nation, which is the first priority, you have people that can work. Why make it impossible for people to pay for a bill for their health? Makes no sense to me at all. That's the difference. You know, freedom of speech is one thing, but if you're being libelous, or you're telling lies and you're accusing people of things they didn't do, your freedom of speech doesn't cover you, no matter where you are in the world. And let's be honest, Americans love to litigate. The president himself has lived a life of litigation. Oh, I see. So you'd be too busy fighting with each other to bother with me, Leroy. I get it. We have rivalry within states, but it's all tongue-in-cheek stuff. See, it's already started. Bugger off, Leroy, you upper Canadian son of a bitch.
Are you saying that?
No, I just said if I walked into a bar with the pair of them, they'd probably take the piss out of us, whereas they're actually just taking the piss out of each other, because they're from Ontario and one's from, a different part of Canada, and we hate each other. No, you don't. You probably hate each other when the ice hockey kicks in. It'll be interesting. I think in time, people will see Joe Biden as a guy that's just trying to put fingers in the dike and realise that he's trying to do the right thing. Whether he succeeds, I don't know. But he's a far better alternative to the nightmare they've been living. Herring choker, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. I can hear VMAX bagpipes playing atop of the hill, looking down on the Ontarians saying, you will die today. No, I must admit, I don't see a great deal of sense of humour in American friends a lot of the time. Like, I know, you know Danny, she's a real exception. She's really funny and doesn't mind digging in and getting digged at, but not a lot of Americans do. No, like I say, there is no perfect answer, VMAC, but it's a far better alternative. Another 4 years of the current administration would certainly turn America into an authoritarian country. Not much different than Belarus, Russia, China. I know what it is. Since he got in, he's jealous of Jinping in China having the job for life. Putin, if he doesn't get an illness like people say he's got, was going to have the job till 2036. And I'm pretty sure Trump thought, maybe I can do that here. Didn't happen. It's like walking up to the edge of the sand and seeing there's 3 bridges, and you've got to choose which bridge you're going to cross. And you see one bridge that looks terrible, but it's very popular, and people are getting across. Some are falling off. That's all right. We've got plenty of people. You've got the middle bridge, which is a bit better. There's not as many people crossing it, and it's a bit rickety, but people are getting across the other side with very little loss of life. Then there's the third bridge, built out of steel and concrete, where there's only a few people crossing the bridge, but they all get to the other side. That bridge is Joe Biden. Yeah. The thing about fake news, which was always purported by the current president, was his fake news. I saw it clearly. When he mentioned the word fake news, it was his news that was fake. Without doubt, in my lifetime, the worst possible president America could have ever had, they've just had. And on his way out, he's getting a big baseball bat and smashing everything he can find. And that's why I think talk of the 25th Amendment may be brought up next week. Let's see if it happens. Can you imagine the capital of Canada, Ottawa? There's a massive parade, and in that parade is the current President of the United States. I'm pretty sure you could count the number of people on one hand that would be watching. Do you know what I think it is, Lurie? It's not that they believe in him. They want to believe in something else, and he just happened to fit the bill. People don't think it's a fair deal that they're getting, so an alternative is better than the norm. This alternative was a nightmare, and it's probably true that an alternative is needed in the US from the normal humdrum run of politics, but this was not the answer. There's a study that I read about 6 months ago, middle of this pandemic, and it was to do with people and their conspiracy theories. Now, people are entitled to have a theory. I have no problem with that. Hello, Danny. Yep, it'd be like paddling with one oar, Danny, I believe. But this study was done into what people believed 3 or 4 years ago compared to what they believe today. Now, a lot of people had a conspiracy theory of this or that, but it was generally one or maybe two, whereas things like QAnon and the media, which has brought up all this nonsense, a lot of these people that used to have 1 or 2 conspiracy theories have dozens that they push together. Yep, I agree, Leroy. What happens in the US affects Australia, even though we're a long way away. Oh, but that's always been there, VMAC. I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying it's always been there. When I was a kid, you were not young enough to have done this, but we used to do duck and cover because of a nuclear war possibility. I'm not kidding you. Duck and cover exercises. And then, of course, there was communists under the bed. There were socialists. Then it was the Vietnamese. Yeah, it just goes on and on. It's like each generation is taught to fear something. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. There's been periods throughout history. The Western world has had these bogeymen that they've brought up. Red Dawn, yeah. You start talking about the realities of the world is you don't need a conspiracy theory to work out that the rich nasty pricks do run the country. Doing paperwork. Does that involve washing your hands after you've done the paperwork? Just kidding. But yeah, there's always been a bogeyman, because this is the old theory, and Nixon did it, and Trump copied Nixon's theories on the chaos theory, which means that if you can present a problem but then offer a solution, people love you, people believe in you. But they forget the fact that you've created the problem and then offered a solution. It's chaos theory. Nixon did a lot of that, particularly near the end of his interment. But it's one of the oldest things in the world, is create a problem and offer a solution. People look at you like a god and say, this is amazing. Yep, well, she's here. Hello, old gringo.
Hi, I was going to bed in a minute.
Yep, I'll be going to bed too shortly.
Sit with the puppy dogs for 10.
Yeah, that's never happened in our country. There's been racial conflict, but there was always that conflict in Europe. Like we had some Europeans that came to Australia and they carried their conflicts to Australia, but it soon stopped. It's like we have no problem with the Chinese in Australia at all. I have no problem with the Chinese in China. I just think run by an authoritarian system where it is not communism at all, it's dictatorship. Brunch. Your mob's sleeping all the time. Mind you, they should hibernate this time of year. See you later, B-mate. We'll be going in about 5 minutes. I've got to give Gringo 5 minutes. Haven't seen him for ages. Mind you, we haven't been on for ages. But dear friend Danny G got a little prick in the arm the other day, which made us very pleased. Oh yeah, pickled red onions. You can pickle anything, but pickled red onions go great with cheese sandwiches or on a taco or in a salad. This time of the year with the harvest that's coming on, I pickle just about everything. I know the missus is going to say to me, stop, we'll just have a fridge full of preserves.
Well, that's what it was like till you go so away.
Yeah, but I made a heap up to give away.
Yeah.
I'd give some to Danny, but I've got to put it in the 40-foot container along with everything else that she'll get when she gets here. But we're certainly having a doozy of an early summer, a big heat wave we've had here. It's cool today, and it's going to only be, I think, 35 tomorrow, and it's back up to 40.
No, it won't. You've got to put it out there. Tuesday, Wednesday will not be 40.
And if VMAC was here, we'd just open the fridge every now and then and say, you right now? Well, as long as it doesn't bite you, old gringo, you should be good. Sunday is a good day. I mean, VMAC's tutoring off, probably to throw a bit of maple bacon, some eggs, maybe some flapjacks, pancakes or toast, coffee, nice glass of orange juice. That's what Sundays are good for. Oh, that's good. Actually, throughout our whole life, I've never actually ever got a cat. It's found us. We've had about 6 or 7 cats over the years that found us and decided that they were living with us.
Come on. We'll go to bed in a minute. I'm caught up there.
Sunday, Leroy. We've had our Sunday. Well, it's finishing. It was a good Sunday. It wasn't too hot. I managed to do a fair bit of work in the garden. I'm putting my second crop of tomatoes in now. We get a pretty good run with vegetable growing for about 7 or 8 months of the year. I think so, Gringo, because we had cats for years. In the end, we had some people come round and we said we were leaving, and they took the cat, we went and made sure the cat was happy. He was happy as Larry. Another cat I had for 20 years.
One more time if you want to go to the toilet.
This is how the dogs walk down to the grass to go to the toilet.
Oh, she doesn't want to.
See how she's walking?
But I have to take
And Marlo's walking now, see?
Well, they won't go.
That's how our dogs walk down to the toilet. They're funny first thing in the morning though, because I get up early. And I make myself a cuppa and I'll get to the back door. I'm sure as eggs, they're behind me. And they go racing down like greyhounds to the grass. No, they're our daughters. We have them a lot, but our kids are up in Exmouth, up north in our state. God knows why, it's the middle of summer. It'll be really hot up there. But each year, I was saying earlier to VMAC and Leroy that I think our summer's just coming earlier. Like this weather we've been having I've lived in state all my life. Literally, summer would come January, February, big heat. But we've had it for the last 5 years, September, October, November, December, like it's earlier. We are going to get our own dog eventually. Eventually. But it's been a good Sunday and I'm sure you're going to all enjoy yours. There's probably bacon, eggs flying around. The time in Western Australia is 9:47 p.m. On the East Coast, it's now 12:47. There's 3 hours difference from coast to coast. In fact, our state is so big, we have 2 time zones. But I must admit, after a hot spell, today was quite good. It's 7:47 in Kansas. I think you've been looking at a bit of snow and ice coming your way in the next couple of days, Gringo. Hopefully the snow, but not the ice. I'm up normally about 5:30, 6 o'clock most mornings because I like coming up before the sun. I enjoy the birds in the morning, watering the garden, just tottering around. Best time of the day, I believe. No, a friend of mine drove through Kansas spring a few years ago. Man, he said the storms were just unbelievable. It wasn't pissing down, it was snowing, and then he got ice on his car in the morning. He said he'd never live in Kansas. Mind you, he was from Texas. But I think it's time to go to bed. I don't know if Danny's still listening or not, but I hope you have a great day. Let's flick this around. G'day. How you going, all right? I look like George Clooney out of his latest movie. Midnight Something it was called. Charlie got a sister for... Oh! Well, that'll be interesting. I hope Charlie's not put out at all. Dogs tend to be like, what's going on here? Who's this then? Just visiting, I hope. You're in the middle of Tornado Alley. Yep. I'll have a look at that picture shortly. For all of you, good to see you again. And hopefully things get better. Let's all hope that way. And enjoy Sunday if you're not working. Danny is. He's at work eating cupcakes and coffee. There's probably marks all over the paperwork. What's that? Chocolate. Rub it off. But anyway, have a great Sunday. And I hope to catch up with you again in a few days. Maybe New Year's Eve. We could all get together. Unfortunately, my New Year's Eve is a day ahead of yours. So we'll be going, yeah, Happy New Year. You'll be going, what? It's not here yet. Anyway, enjoy your Sunday. See you later.